Who's investigating South Korea's president? Charging a sitting president with wrongdoing is no simple task, but in South Korea, it may be still more difficult because of the sheer number of law enforcement agencies involved. President Yoon Suk-yeol has already joined the ranks of South Korean presidents impeached by Parliament as a consequence of his ill-fated decision to declare martial law in earlier December. But as the court considers whether to uphold that impeachment and remove him permanently from power, he is also facing criminal investigations on multiple fronts into accusations in the election. Mr. Yoon was detained at his office offshore residence on Wednesday by investigators and police officers, ending a tense standoff. He is the first sitting president in South Korean history to be taken in for questioning on criminal charges. Mr. Yoon has been suspended, but he is still technically in office. He is in office still now. Investigators are negotiating untrodden ground, and the agencies that are investigating him risk prolonging the country's political turmoil if they do not find a way to cooperate. And then there is the agency that is obligated to protect him. Here's a guide to the playing field. Okay. The main agency, or CIO, okay, let me explain. CIO, the main agency investigating Mr. Yoon is the Corruption Investigation Office for High-Ranking Officials, or the CIO, or the CIO, as the only agency granted warrants. It led to the efforts to detain the president. Next, state prosecutors. Okay. Two more law enforcement agencies also opened criminal cases against Mr. Yoon over possible indirect. The state prosecutor's office and the police. For a while, the three agencies worked separately on competing cases. State prosecutors and police, each institutions are competing separately on competing cases, right? Next one is the CIO. After negotiations, the agencies agreed that the CIO would head the investigation into Mr. Yoon with help from police and military investigators, and while the prosecutor's office would handle the cases involving most of Mr. Yoon's associates. But all the agencies involved, the CIO, is the newest. It is also the smallest. Newest and smallest. CIO was created just 4 years ago to combat corruption among senior officials and to check the power of state prosecutors. The prosecutors have long been unpopular with the public, viewed as the tools used by the president for their own political gain. It's very interesting. The prosecutor is used as the tool. It's very funny. Yes. Next, the creation of the CIO was part of a years-long reform effort, but the opposition in Parliament curtailed it resulting in limited power for the new agency, and few staff members. A failed attempt by the CIO to detain Mr. Yoon earlier this month put a spotlight on the agency's relative inexperience and brought into question its ability to handle such an important task. The CIO's structural weaknesses may also prove reliability. Mr. Yoon's lawyers say that the CIO's mandate does not include the right to investigate an incumbent president, current president. Beyond that, the CIO has no power to indict Mr. Yoon. After its investigation, the CIO must hand the case over to prosecutor's office, still the only agency with the power to indict a president. Okay. It's gonna be complicated one, right? The prosecutors are once thought to be loyal to Mr. Yoon, moved quickly against him after his martial law decree. They have already indicted several of his associates, and their statements have portrayed Mr. Yoon as the ringleader. Okay, the final one. The Mr. Yoon's last line of defense against investigators, including maybe prosecutors or the police or the other adversary. So investigators were the Presidential Security Service, an agency that is legally bound to protect the president, like Secret Service in the United States, right? The service has reaffirmed its pledge to defend Mr. Yoon, saying he remains the sole elected leader. It blocked the investigators' first attempt to detain him earlier this month. But the members of the PSS are civil servants, many of whom worked under prior president and may not owe loyalty to Mr. Yoon personally. Investigators and the police had been pressuring them to cooperate, and they put up no obvious resistance when the officers returned to detain Mr. Yoon on Wednesday. Separately, final one, Constitutional Court. Separately, Mr. Yoon still faces an impeachment trial at the Constitutional Court, which will decide whether to reinstate him or to formally remove him from office, right? Summarization. Let's go to proceed to the summarization. And experts say the Constitutional Court's decision may come as soon as February. The court faces tremendous public pressure to decide quickly to help resolve the country's current political limbo. Now, neither outcome from the court will affect Mr. Yoon's standing in criminal proceedings, and the court can proceed with or without his presence. But some speculate that Mr. Yoon's lawyers may be hoping that if the court reinstates him, it will be harder for investigators to charge him. Mr. Yoon will now face questioning from investigators over whether he committed the insurrection when he ordered troops into parliament during his martial law. Officials are allowed to question him for 48 hours and need to apply for a separate court warrant if they want to formally arrest him. Okay, thank you for hearing.